Welcome to this deep dive into Scotland's most haunted locations. In this video, we explore 7 chilling ghost stories and paranormal encounters, from the shadowy tombstones of Greyfriars Kirkyard to the haunted halls of Huntly Castle, eerie underground vaults, and Scotland's most haunted road. Join us as we uncover centuries of haunted history, ghost sightings, and unexplained phenomena that have left visitors shaken. Sit back, turn off the lights, and prepare to experience the dark and mysterious side of Scotland's haunted past. Nestled beneath Edinburgh's South Bridge, a network of dark, eerie vaults lurks in the city's depths. These vaults, once a thriving space for merchants, have long been abandoned, but their mysterious past continues to haunt the present. The city of Edinburgh, which rests on 7 major hills, was once a place where getting around could be a muddy and difficult journey. Before the bridges, like the South Bridge, were built, traversing Edinburgh meant a lengthy, exhausting trek. The South Bridge, completed in 1788, was supposed to connect High Street with the University of Edinburgh. It was seen as an ambitious project that would ease travel for the growing city, but it was doomed from the start. Legend has it that the first person to cross the bridge was to be a well-respected judge's wife, but she tragically passed away before its completion. In an eerie twist, she was carried across in her coffin as the bridge officially opened. From that point, some locals, steeped in superstition, refused to cross the bridge and would take the long way around, crossing over the North Bridge instead. Despite this ominous start, the South Bridge soon became a hub for Edinburgh's growing population. The space beneath the bridge, originally intended for businesses and storage, was quickly filled with shops and workshops. But the South Bridge had a critical flaw. Its limestone structure was porous, and the city's rainy weather caused frequent flooding. The vaults, meant to serve as safe storage, became damp, dark, and uninhabitable. By the turn of the 19th century, businesses were abandoning the vaults, and what had once been a bustling network of commerce turned into a forgotten, shadowy underworld. As Edinburgh's population swelled, particularly with the influx of people fleeing Ireland's potato famine in the mid-1800s, the empty vaults became a refuge for the city's poor. Living conditions were horrific. Families of 10 or more crammed into these small, windowless rooms, surrounded by a stench of decay, no sanitation, and barely enough air to breathe. The vaults quickly became a breeding ground for disease, crime, and poverty, with illegal taverns, brothels, and gambling dens flourishing in the gloom. The surrounding area, once lively with commerce, had now become one of the city's most notorious slums. As crime escalated, the vault's reputation grew darker. It became a haven for criminals, thieves, and murderers. The vaults also attracted people involved in more sinister activities, such as body snatchers, selling cadavers to the University of Edinburgh's medical school. Although there's no direct evidence that Burke and Hare, the infamous body snatchers, operated within these vaults, the association with crime and death only added to the place's grim reputation. By the 1860s, the vaults were largely abandoned, the squatters evicted, and the vaults filled with rubble in an attempt to prevent further occupation. The once vital space was forgotten, buried beneath layers of dirt and debris for over a century. But the stories of the vaults and the tragedies that had unfolded there were far from over. In the 1980s, a chance excavation unearthed these forgotten vaults, revealing a haunting glimpse into their past. Old toys, horseshoes, buttons, and dinner plates, reminders of the people who once lived in the dark, damp labyrinth, were uncovered. Little did the world know that this would be the start of a new chapter in the vault's long, eerie history. As we move on, we will explore the haunting legends of those who never truly left the Edinburgh vaults. After the discovery of the Edinburgh vaults in the 1980s, the haunting stories surrounding the area began to resurface. The vaults, long forgotten by the general public, were now being seen as a place that held more than just memories of poverty and crime. They were believed to be haunted by the restless spirits of those who had once lived in the dark, damp spaces. Local folklore soon began to surround the vaults. The ghostly apparitions of men, women, and children are said to wander the vaults, many of them believed to be the souls of the former inhabitants who had perished from disease or violence. These stories were fueled by numerous accounts from those who visited or worked in the vaults, reporting strange sounds, chilling cold spots, and eerie figures in the shadows. The vaults were not just remembered as a dark chapter in the city's history, but were now known as one of the most haunted places in Scotland. One of the most chilling stories comes from a ghostly figure known as the Grey Lady. According to the legend, she was a young woman who lived in the vaults during the early 19th century. She had been forced to live in the underground spaces with her family and had suffered greatly in the squalid conditions. After contracting a fatal illness, she died in one of the vaults, but her spirit is said to have remained, wandering the dark passageways in search of peace. Several people who have visited the vaults report seeing her ghostly figure, dressed in gray, floating near the walls, and feeling an overwhelming sense of sorrow when they pass by. Another well-known haunting involves the figure of a child, often described as an innocent little girl with blonde hair. Some believe the child's spirit is that of a young girl who died of disease while living in the vaults, while others speculate that she may have been a victim of the violent crime that plagued the area. Visitors have reported hearing the sound of a child crying, and some have claimed to see a small, pale figure peeking out from the shadows. Then there is the more sinister presence that lingers in the vaults, a dark figure known to many as the Watcher. The Watcher is said to be an ominous, shadowy figure that lingers in the darkest corners of the vaults. Those who claim to have seen the Watcher often describe an overwhelming sense of dread, as though they were being watched by something malevolent. Some visitors report being pushed, shoved, or even feeling as though they were being physically attacked by an unseen force. Perhaps the most terrifying of the hauntings is related to the presence of the murderer's ghost. This apparition is believed to be the spirit of a man who met a violent end in the vaults. The legend goes that he had been murdered by a group of criminals who used the vaults to hide their nefarious deeds. Those who have visited the vaults claim to have heard the sound of a man screaming or shouting in agony, only to find no one present. Others report the feeling of being strangled or suffocated as they walk through certain areas. In addition to these individual hauntings, there are also reports of paranormal phenomena that suggest the vaults are a place where time and space are distorted. Visitors have claimed to experience strange sensations, such as hearing voices from the past or feeling as though they are being transported back to the early 19th century. These inexplicable occurrences have only added to the legend of the Edinburgh vaults, making it one of the most famous sites for paranormal enthusiasts and ghost hunters in the world. With its long history of death, disease, and violence, it's no surprise that the Edinburgh vaults have become a hub for paranormal activity. Whether or not one believes in ghosts, the vaults continue to draw people from all over the world, eager to experience the chilling atmosphere of this haunted location firsthand. Next, we will delve deeper into some of the documented ghost encounters that have occurred within the Edinburgh vaults, where the spirits of the past seem to have left a permanent mark on the present. The Edinburgh vaults are not only known for their historical significance, but also for the numerous ghost sightings and paranormal activity that have been reported over the years. These eerie encounters have been documented by various individuals, from ghost hunters to casual visitors, and the consistency of these experiences has only added to the vault's reputation as one of the most haunted locations in Scotland. One of the earliest recorded ghost sightings in the vaults took place in the mid-1980s, shortly after the vaults were rediscovered and opened to the public. Visitors on early tours began to report strange occurrences that seemed to defy explanation. One of the most frequent experiences involved the sound of footsteps echoing through the damp tunnels, despite no one else being present. These footsteps were described as heavy, deliberate, and often heard just behind or beside the person, as though someone were walking with them in the shadows. The sound would stop suddenly, leaving those who heard it with a feeling of unease. Another notable occurrence took place in the South Vault, where numerous people reported seeing a shadowy figure that appeared to move quickly through the vault, darting in and out of sight. This figure was described as being humanoid in shape but entirely black, as if it were a dark shadow that defied the surrounding light. Many who witnessed this said they felt an overwhelming sense of dread when encountering the figure, some even describing a feeling of being touched or brushed by an unseen hand, though no one was near them. This unsettling experience led to the vault being dubbed the Haunted Vault by those who worked in the area, a place where the energy felt notably darker and more oppressive than elsewhere in the complex. Perhaps the most well-known paranormal activity in the Edinburgh vaults revolves around the Vault of the Black Widow. This specific vault is said to be haunted by the spirit of a woman who was reportedly murdered by her husband, though the exact details of her death remain unclear. Many visitors to the vault have reported feeling a cold, oppressive atmosphere in this particular area, with some claiming to see a ghostly woman in black standing silently in the shadows. The woman is said to be particularly visible at night, where her pale face and dark flowing dress can be seen near the far corner of the vault. Those who have witnessed her have described her as staring out into space, with an expression of sorrow or perhaps anger. Some even report hearing faint whispers or the sound of a woman sobbing softly, only to find the vault empty when they look again. Other visitors have shared chilling experiences of being physically affected by the paranormal presence within the vaults. A few have claimed to feel an intense, unexplained pressure on their chests, as if someone or something were holding them down. One visitor to the vaults in the year 1995 recalled feeling a sudden tightness in his throat as he walked through the narrow corridors. He began to feel as though he was being choked, despite no one being near him. The sensation was so intense that he was forced to leave the vault immediately. Other individuals have also shared similar experiences, describing a suffocating or crushing sensation when walking through certain parts of the vaults, often accompanied by a feeling of being watched or followed. Perhaps the most disturbing of all the paranormal encounters in the vaults occurred in the late 1990s, when a group of ghost hunters conducted a special investigation. During this investigation, one of the members of the group reported being violently shoved by an unseen force while in the North Vaults. The person, a seasoned ghost hunter, was walking along the path when they felt a powerful, unexpected push from behind, causing them to stumble and fall to the ground. No one else was near them at the time, and no physical explanation could be found for the sudden push. Following this incident, the group noted an increase in paranormal activity in the North Vaults, with more instances of objects being moved or thrown, and the temperature in certain areas plummeting dramatically. This event sparked further interest from paranormal investigators and drew attention to the vaults as a hotspot for ghostly activity. There are also reports from people who have visited the vaults and have captured unexplained phenomena on film or video. One such instance occurred in 2003, when a group of tourists recorded what appeared to be a shadowy figure walking past them in one of the vaults. The video showed no one else around at the time, and the figure, though faint, seemed to move across the frame with an almost fluid motion. The figure was not visible to the naked eye during the visit, but the camera picked it up clearly, leading to speculation that the vaults might be home to more than just residual energy. This video has since been circulated among paranormal groups, further adding to the legends surrounding the vaults. The frequency and consistency of these reports have led many to believe that the Edinburgh vaults are not only a place of historical significance, but also one of the most paranormally active locations in the world. With every ghostly encounter, strange sensation, or unexplained event, the vaults continue to fascinate both skeptics and believers alike, offering a glimpse into the past and a haunting reminder of those who lived and died in the dark, forgotten spaces beneath Edinburgh. In the final part of this story, we will examine the ongoing efforts to preserve the vaults and explore why the spirits of the past still seem to haunt this infamous location. In recent years, the Edinburgh vaults have undergone significant preservation efforts aimed at both protecting their historical value and continuing to unravel the mysteries that surround them. Though the vaults were left abandoned for more than a century, their rediscovery in the late 1980s sparked renewed interest in both their history and the ghostly encounters reported by those who ventured into the dark, damp chambers. Today, the vaults are open to the public, and tours are offered regularly, providing a glimpse into a past that is still very much alive with paranormal energy. Preservation of the vaults began in earnest in the mid-1990s, when efforts to stabilize the site were made a priority. The Scottish Historic Environment Policy, which governs the protection of historic sites, designated the vaults as an area of cultural significance. This classification helped ensure that the vaults would be safeguarded for future generations. The vault's historical and architectural features, including the original stone arches and the intricate brickwork that supports the structure, were carefully examined by conservation specialists. Over time, the site has been carefully reinforced to prevent further degradation while maintaining its eerie charm. During the restoration, archaeologists discovered a wealth of material evidence that paints a fuller picture of the life and conditions in the vaults during their use in the early 19th century. Old tools, pottery, and even personal items were uncovered, offering insights into the daily lives of those who inhabited these subterranean spaces. These artifacts have provided a deeper understanding of the people who once lived and worked in the vaults, and they have contributed to the ongoing mystery of the site. In particular, the discovery of remains, such as human bones and discarded belongings, has led to further speculation about the conditions within the vaults and whether the spirits that haunt the area may be connected to these forgotten souls. In addition to its preservation, the vaults have become a popular destination for both tourists and paranormal investigators. The increase in public interest has given rise to several ghost tours and special events, including paranormal investigations, that are conducted throughout the year. The tours are guided by individuals with extensive knowledge of both the history of the vaults and the ghostly phenomena associated with the site. Some of these tours even focus solely on the paranormal aspect, allowing participants to experience firsthand the chilling atmosphere that pervades the vaults. During these tours, visitors are often equipped with devices used in ghost hunting, such as EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recorders, and infrared cameras, to capture any potential paranormal activity. While many leave the vaults without any concrete evidence, the experience alone is enough to leave a lasting impression on those who dare to venture into the shadows. The vault's mystique is further fueled by the ongoing reports of paranormal activity, which continue to be a subject of fascination. Paranormal investigators have regularly visited the site in hopes of capturing definitive proof of the spirits that are said to haunt the vaults. Some investigations have been documented in detail, with both visual and auditory anomalies recorded during the sessions. One notable event occurred in 2016, when a team of investigators claimed to have recorded an unsettling EVP in one of the vaults. The voice, which was not audible to the group at the time, seemed to whisper a name: William. This was particularly eerie because the vaults are often associated with a number of individuals who lived and died there, but no one by that name had been previously linked to the hauntings. This finding led to new theories about the spirits inhabiting the vaults and sparked further research into the names and lives of those who may have been forgotten by history. As the vaults continue to intrigue visitors and investigators alike, they remain a significant part of Edinburgh's history and paranormal lore. The city's reputation as a hub of both historical exploration and ghostly encounters is in part due to the vaults and their lingering mysteries. The haunting stories that have been passed down through generations are now interwoven with the very fabric of Edinburgh's cultural heritage, creating an inseparable link between the living and the dead. Today, the Edinburgh vaults stand not only as a testament to the hardships of those who once lived there, but also as a beacon for those fascinated by the paranormal. While the vault's dark and forgotten history continues to raise questions, their preservation ensures that the story of this infamous location will never be lost. The vaults remain a place where the boundary between the past and present seems to blur, where visitors can walk through the same corridors that once echoed with the sounds of those who called the vaults home. For many, the vaults are not just a piece of history, but a living, breathing mystery that continues to captivate the imagination of those brave enough to enter. In conclusion, the Edinburgh vaults remain one of the most intriguing and haunted locations in the world. Their dark, tragic history, combined with the ghostly encounters that persist to this day, ensures that they will forever hold a place in the collective consciousness of both locals and visitors. The vaults are a reminder that even in the face of historical decay and modern redevelopment, some things, especially the spirits of the past, refuse to fade away. Huntly Castle stands in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, surrounded by quiet fields and rolling land that feel calm during the day. But once night falls, this place feels very different. The broken walls and empty windows seem to hold on to something heavy, like the castle is still watching those who come close. Many people believe this is not just imagination, but the result of centuries of violent history and restless spirits. This castle was once the main seat of the powerful Gordon family, one of the most feared clans in Scotland. From the early medieval period onward, Huntly Castle was expanded again and again, turning it into a symbol of wealth, control, and influence. With that power came conflict. The Gordons were involved in long and bitter feuds, especially with rival families, and the castle was attacked more than once. These events left deep marks on the land and on the stories that followed. During the 1600s, Huntly Castle was damaged during clashes with the Scottish crown. It was later abandoned and slowly fell into ruin. As the stone walls crumbled, the stories did not fade. Locals began to speak of strange feelings inside the ruins, like sudden cold spots, dizziness, and a sense of being watched. Visitors often said the castle felt uneasy, even in silence. What makes Huntly Castle stand apart from many other ruins is how early the ghost stories began. Reports of unexplained events started not long after some of its most tragic moments. These were not stories passed down centuries later. They were written about close to the time they happened, which makes them even more chilling. People believed that something had been left behind, something that never truly moved on. This is where our investigation begins. Before we step deeper into the legends and encounters, it is important to understand that Huntly Castle is not just haunted because it is old. It is haunted because of what happened here, and because those events were so shocking that people never forgot them. Next, we will explore the moment many believe started it all, a single event that changed Huntly Castle forever. To understand why Huntly Castle is considered one of the most haunted places in Scotland, we have to look at one strange and well-recorded event. This moment is often seen as the true beginning of the castle's paranormal history. Unlike many ghost stories, this one comes from written records made close to the time it happened. In the late 1500s, George Gordon, the 5th Earl of Huntly, was staying at the castle. On a day in the month of October, in the year 1576, the Earl was outside on the castle grounds, spending time in good spirits. Without warning, he suddenly collapsed. Those nearby rushed to help him and carried him inside, believing he had fallen ill. What followed shocked everyone who witnessed it. The Earl's condition became worse very quickly. He was said to shake violently, struggle to breathe, and show signs of extreme distress. According to historical accounts, he began vomiting a dark substance described at the time as black bile. Not long after, he died inside the castle. No clear cause of death was ever agreed upon, and rumors of poisoning and curses spread almost immediately. After his death, the Earl's body was sealed inside a private room within the castle. This should have marked the end of the tragedy, but instead it seemed to be the start of something far more disturbing. People inside the castle soon began to report strange events that could not be explained by illness or fear alone. Servants in different parts of the castle suddenly collapsed one after another, even though they had not been near the Earl. When they recovered, they described an intense cold that felt unnatural, along with a powerful sense of terror. Some said it felt as if something unseen had passed straight through them. Soon after, loud noises were heard coming from the locked room where the Earl's body was kept. Witnesses described bangs, groans, and heavy sounds, even though no one was inside. Several men stood outside the sealed door and listened, convinced that something was moving within. These reports were written down at the time, making them some of the earliest detailed records of a haunting in Scotland. Many believed the Earl's death had left something behind. Whether it was fear, trauma, or something darker, this moment marked a turning point. From that day forward, Huntly Castle was no longer just a ruin tied to history. It became a place where the dead were believed to still have a presence, and where the line between past and present felt dangerously thin. Long after the strange death of the Earl, stories continued to grow around Huntly Castle. These were not tales written down in official records, but accounts passed along by locals, visitors, and caretakers who spent time among the ruins. Over the years, certain figures began to appear again and again in these reports, each tied to a different part of the castle. One of the most talked about apparitions is a woman seen near the entrance and along the path leading toward the old gateway. Witnesses describe her shape as incomplete, often appearing without clear features, as if something is missing. She is usually seen moving slowly, then vanishing without a sound. This figure is often linked to a tragic legend connected to betrayal and violence, reflecting the unstable and dangerous life that once surrounded the castle. Another presence often reported is a woman dressed in long, flowing clothing, sometimes described as having a faint green or pale glow. This figure is usually seen deeper within the ruins, moving quietly through open spaces where walls no longer stand. People who claim to have seen her often say, the air suddenly feels heavy and cold, and a deep sadness settles over the area. She does not speak, and she does not react to being noticed. What makes these stories stand out is how consistent they are. Many accounts come from different decades, told by people who did not know each other and had no reason to invent the same details. These sightings are often brief, lasting only a few seconds, but they leave a strong emotional impact on those who experience them. There are also reports of sounds with no clear source. Footsteps have been heard on stone floors where no floor remains. Soft voices are said to drift through open courtyards, especially during the evening hours. Some visitors describe the feeling of being watched, even when they are completely alone. Historians point out that Huntly Castle was not a peaceful place during its active years. It was tied to power struggles, loyalty, and sudden violence. Many believe this long history created the conditions for the stories that followed. Whether these experiences are caused by memory, atmosphere, or something unexplained, they have become part of the castle's identity. By the modern era, Huntly Castle was no longer just known for its history. It had gained a reputation as a place where the past does not stay silent, and where the spirits of old stories may still linger among the broken stone. In more recent years, Huntly Castle has drawn attention from paranormal investigators, historians, and night visitors, hoping to understand why the ruins feel so unsettling. These modern experiences do not come from legend alone, but from people spending long hours inside the castle grounds, often after sunset, when the atmosphere changes completely. Many investigators report sudden drops in temperature that cannot be explained by weather alone. These cold spots are often felt near enclosed stone sections, especially close to former living quarters and stairwells. People describe the cold as sharp and immediate, lasting only moments before the air returns to normal. This sensation is frequently followed by feelings of pressure or unease, as if the space has become crowded. Unexplained sounds are another common experience. Slow footsteps have been heard echoing through empty areas where no wooden floors remain. Some report the sound of movement above them, even though the upper levels collapsed centuries ago. These noises are usually brief but clear, stopping suddenly when people try to locate their source. Several visitors have also described problems with electronic equipment. Cameras stop working without warning, batteries drain quickly, and audio recordings pick up faint knocking or low tones that were not heard at the time. These issues are often reported during calm weather, when wind and rain cannot explain interference. What stands out in these modern encounters is how physical they feel. People often mention headaches, dizziness, or a strong urge to leave certain areas of the castle. These reactions usually fade once they step away from specific locations, suggesting the effects are tied to place rather than imagination. Historic Environment Scotland has acknowledged that Huntly Castle has one of the strongest reputations for paranormal activity among managed sites. While no official explanation is given, the consistent nature of these reports has helped keep the castle's haunted reputation alive well into the present day. As night deepens around the ruins, many leave with the feeling that Huntly Castle is not empty at all. Instead, it seems to respond to those who enter, as if the past is still aware of who walks among its walls. As dawn breaks over Aberdeenshire, Huntly Castle slowly returns to being a silent ruin of stone and shadow. Yet for many who have studied its past or spent time within its walls, the feeling of being watched does not fade with the daylight. This lasting unease is one of the main reasons the castle's haunted reputation has survived for so many centuries. Huntly Castle was not shaped by one single tragedy, but by generations of conflict, ambition, and sudden death. The Gordons held power here for hundreds of years, and their influence pulled the castle into national struggles that left lasting scars. Repeated attacks, political tension, and personal rivalries all unfolded within the same confined spaces, layering history upon history. What makes Huntly Castle stand out is the unusually detailed written record of fear and strange events linked to it. Few locations in Scotland have such early accounts describing physical reactions, unexplained sounds, and widespread panic tied to one specific place. These records anchor the ghost stories in real moments from the past, rather than folklore passed down only by word of mouth. The ruins themselves also play a role in the haunting. Narrow stairways, sealed chambers, and towering stone walls trap sound and shadow in unsettling ways. At night, even small noises seem magnified, creating the sense that something unseen is moving just beyond reach. For many visitors, this environment alone is enough to spark fear, even before any strange experience occurs. Huntly Castle is now protected as a historic site, and it stands as a reminder of Scotland's turbulent past. Yet, alongside its architectural importance, it carries something harder to measure. The emotional weight of what happened here seems to linger, shaping how people feel the moment they step inside. Whether the ghosts are real or not, the stories tied to Huntly Castle refuse to fade. They live on in old records, modern experiences, and the deep silence of the ruins themselves. For those drawn to haunted places and true ghost stories, Huntly Castle remains one of Scotland's most chilling locations, a place where history never truly feels at rest. Mary King's Close is a historic alleyway tucked under the Edinburgh City Chambers building on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, Scotland. The Close takes its name from Mary King, a merchant who lived there in the 17th century. The Close itself, however, is much older than her time. It is made up of a series of narrow alleys that once connected different parts of Edinburgh's Old Town. These alleys were densely packed with homes, businesses, and workers. The buildings were high, sometimes rising as many as 7 stories, and the area was one of the busiest in the city. The living conditions in Mary King's Close were far from ideal. While the wealthier people lived in the higher floors, those who had less money lived on the lower floors. These lower homes were dark, overcrowded, and lacked sanitation, making the area a breeding ground for disease. The streets were often filled with waste, as there was no proper sewage system at the time. Instead, people would dispose of their waste by throwing it into the streets, where it would flow into the nearby Nor Loch, a polluted lake that once existed where the Princess Street Gardens now sit. Mary King's Close was alive with activity, but the area became known for its poor living conditions, and rumors about hauntings began to spread. The eerie atmosphere of the Close, with its dark alleys and thick fog, combined with the smells from the waste-filled streets, contributed to the growing sense that something was wrong with the place. The Close was not only home to ordinary citizens, but also to traders, doctors, and other important figures of the time. For example, Mary King, the Close's namesake, was a successful merchant and fabric seller. She and her 4 children moved into one of the buildings in the Close after her husband passed away in 1629. Despite the hardships, Mary King was able to make a living, and her story became intertwined with the history of the Close. However, it wasn't long before something darker overshadowed the lives of those living in the Close. In the mid-17th century, Edinburgh was struck by the plague. The disease spread rapidly through the crowded city, and Mary King's Close was hit especially hard. Though the Close was not sealed off completely, many residents fled to escape the sickness, while others remained and continued their lives under the constant threat of death. The poor sanitation and overcrowding made it a perfect environment for the spread of the plague. The Close's fate would change drastically in the year 1753, when construction began on the Royal Exchange. A significant portion of Mary King's Close was demolished, and the remaining buildings were buried under the new construction. The area was soon closed off from the public and forgotten for many years. It wasn't until much later that the stories of hauntings and ghosts began to emerge, drawing attention to the once thriving, now long abandoned Close. Today, Mary King's Close is part of Edinburgh's history, offering a glimpse into the past and serving as a tourist attraction. Visitors can take a tour of the underground alleyways, but the stories of its haunted past still linger, hinting at the tragedy and mystery that once unfolded within these walls. But what exactly happened in Mary King's Close to make it so infamous for hauntings? That's a question that will unfold in the next parts of this story. In the mid-17th century, Mary King's Close became ground zero for one of Edinburgh's most tragic and deadly outbreaks, the Great Plague of 1647. As the disease spread rapidly through the narrow alleys and overcrowded homes of Edinburgh, the Close, with its already poor living conditions, became a hotspot for the devastating effects of the plague. The plague hit Edinburgh hard in the summer of 1647, and Mary King's Close was no exception. The area, already notorious for its lack of sanitation and cramped living spaces, became a breeding ground for the deadly disease. The streets, once bustling with merchants, families, and workers, were now filled with the sick and dying. Bodies were piled up in homes, and many of the residents succumbed to the disease, which seemed to spread like wildfire. Those who could afford to flee the Close did so, leaving behind their homes and belongings in a desperate attempt to escape the ever-encroaching plague. In some cases, entire families perished within the narrow, dark alleys of Mary King's Close. With no proper burial practices in place, the bodies were often disposed of hastily, and some accounts suggest that victims of the plague were simply thrown into mass graves, further fueling the dark reputation of the Close. It was a time of fear and uncertainty, and for many, the specter of death loomed around every corner. During this outbreak, the residents who remained in the Close were quarantined to prevent the spread of the disease. Authorities sealed off certain areas, including parts of Mary King's Close, in an attempt to contain the plague. The Close was essentially cut off from the rest of the city, with the disease slowly claiming the lives of its inhabitants. Many of the plague victims died alone in their homes, as social contact was restricted to avoid further infection. The impact of the plague on Mary King's Close was catastrophic. Once a vibrant and bustling area of Edinburgh, it became a place of death and sorrow. The disease left behind a sense of desolation that lingered long after the outbreak had subsided. While the city eventually recovered from the devastation, the Close, with its dark alleys and eerie atmosphere, would forever be marked by the suffering that occurred within its walls. As the years went by, the memory of the plague began to fade, but the ghosts of Mary King's Close were far from forgotten. The stories of those who perished in the outbreak began to take root in local folklore, adding to the already growing tales of hauntings in the area. It was clear that the tragedy of the plague had left an indelible mark on the Close, and the spirits of those who died there seemed to remain, trapped in the very streets they had once called home. This sense of lingering sorrow and unrest would continue to haunt the Close, and in the coming years, the eerie whispers of ghostly encounters would only grow louder. But what happened to Mary King's Close after the plague? How did it become the abandoned and haunted site that it is known as today? The answers to these questions will be revealed in the next part of this story. As the Great Plague of 1647 slowly began to subside, the residents of Edinburgh struggled to rebuild their lives. However, the devastation caused by the disease was not the end of Mary King's Close's dark history. In the years that followed, the Close underwent a dramatic transformation, and by the year 1753, a major construction project would forever alter the landscape of the area. The Royal Exchange, which would later become the City Chambers building, was being developed to modernize Edinburgh's city centre. This ambitious project led to the demolition of much of the Close, including a large portion of the once bustling alleyway. Entire buildings were torn down, and parts of the old Close were buried beneath new construction. The destruction of Mary King's Close was not just a physical change, but marked the beginning of the Close's slow disappearance from public view. By the time the construction was complete, the once thriving Close was reduced to an underground area, sealed off and largely forgotten. The remnants of the Close were buried under new streets and buildings, and the memory of the vibrant neighborhood faded. Little was known about the area for nearly 2 centuries, and most of the public had no idea that such a historic and tragic place existed just beneath their feet. While Mary King's Close was buried under new construction, the stories of its haunted past were far from over. Over time, the Close became the subject of ghost stories and rumors. Tales of apparitions and strange occurrences began to surface, with visitors to the area claiming to have experienced ghostly sightings, eerie sounds, and cold spots. These ghostly tales only added to the intrigue of the closed-off area, and many began to associate Mary King's Close with supernatural events. In the early 19th century, the Close was largely forgotten by the general public, but it was not completely abandoned. Some of the buildings that remained above ground were used for storage, while others fell into disrepair. The remaining residents were few, and many of them lived in the shadow of the once thriving area that had been decimated by the plague and the subsequent construction. The poor conditions and eerie atmosphere only added to the growing legend of Mary King's Close as a place of death and sorrow. Despite the closure of the Close to the public, the stories surrounding it continued to grow. and many locals believed that the souls of those who had died in the plague still roamed the underground alleys. The combination of the area's tragic past, its isolation from the rest of the city, and its eerie atmosphere contributed to the growing legend of Mary King's Close as one of the most haunted places in Edinburgh. By the late 20th century, interest in Edinburgh's haunted history had revived, and in the 1980s, the Close was rediscovered. Restoration efforts began, and archaeologists started to unearth the remains of the once forgotten alleyways. This led to the opening of Mary King's Close as a tourist attraction, offering visitors a glimpse into the city's dark history and its haunted past. Today, visitors to Mary King's Close can tour the preserved underground alleys and learn about the area's troubled history. While the physical space has been restored, the stories of its ghostly residents live on, adding a layer of mystery to the place. The Close remains a symbol of Edinburgh's history, both as a place of hardship and death, and as a site of continued paranormal activity. As the legend of Mary King's Close continues to grow, the question remains: what spirits linger in the shadows of these dark alleyways? What unresolved tragedies still echo through the walls of this long-abandoned part of Edinburgh? In the final part of this story, we will explore the eerie encounters that visitors have had with the spirits of Mary King's Close, shedding light on the ghostly figures that continue to haunt this historic site. Mary King's Close, with its dark history and tragic past, has long been the subject of paranormal activity. As the Close was rediscovered and opened to the public in the 1980s, stories of ghostly encounters began to surface with increasing frequency. Visitors and tour guides alike reported strange occurrences, often describing cold spots, eerie sounds, and the sensation of being watched. One of the most prominent spirits said to haunt the Close is that of a young girl named Annie. According to local legends, Annie was one of the many children who died during the plague of 1647. Visitors have reported feeling an inexplicable sense of sorrow and unease in certain parts of the Close, often accompanied by the faint sound of a child's laughter or footsteps. Some claim to have seen the apparition of a young girl, her figure blurred and fleeting, vanishing as quickly as it appears. There have been instances where people have felt a child's touch on their arm, only to turn around and find no one there. Another figure commonly seen in the Close is that of a woman in a dark tattered dress. Known as the Lady in Black, her appearance is often accompanied by a chilling, oppressive atmosphere. Some witnesses have reported seeing her walking silently through the narrow passageways or appearing at the end of corridors, only to disappear before they can approach her. The Lady in Black is believed to be one of the plague victims who perished in the Close, her spirit lingering in the area where she once lived and died. In addition to these apparitions, many visitors have experienced unsettling sounds and smells. One of the most frequent reports is of hearing footsteps, sometimes heavy and deliberate, echoing through the narrow streets of the Close. The footsteps often sound as though they're being made by someone walking with purpose, but when people turn to investigate, they find no one there. Others have heard whispers and muffled voices, as though a conversation is taking place just out of earshot. These disembodied voices, combined with the eerie silence of the closed-off alleyways, contribute to the unnerving atmosphere of the place. The smells that occasionally linger in Mary King's Close are often described as foul and overwhelming. Some visitors have reported the unmistakable stench of decay, reminiscent of the disease-ridden environment that plagued the area during the 17th century. This odor is said to appear without warning, and it is usually accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, further enhancing the chilling sensation of the place. Interestingly, some paranormal investigators have used equipment like EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recorders, to capture strange sounds and voices in the Close. On several occasions, investigators have picked up faint voices on their recordings, though no one present can be heard speaking. The phenomenon has only added to the belief that the spirits of Mary King's Close are still very much present and active, even centuries after their deaths. While many of the ghost stories surrounding Mary King's Close are tied to its tragic history, there are also reports of more contemporary experiences. Some people have claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of dread or unease, as though they are being watched or followed by an unseen presence. Others have experienced sudden drops in temperature, which are thought to be signs of a ghostly presence. These sensations can be particularly strong in the darkest and most isolated parts of the Close, where the echoes of the past feel more vivid and the air thick with history. Despite the eerie and unsettling nature of the hauntings, many people visit Mary King's Close with curiosity rather than fear. The Close has become one of the most popular tourist attractions in Edinburgh, with guided tours that explore its haunted history. Visitors come from all over the world, hoping to catch a glimpse of the spirits that are said to haunt the underground alleyways. The tales of hauntings and ghostly encounters at Mary King's Close have been passed down through generations, and the spirits of the past continue to draw people into the area. Whether it's the sound of children's laughter, the appearance of the lady in black, or the feeling of an unseen presence, the Close remains a place where the past and present collide in the most supernatural way. As the years go by, the legend of Mary King's Close only grows stronger, and it seems that the spirits of the alleyways will continue to haunt the hearts and minds of those who dare to explore its shadowed corners. What lies in wait for those who step into the Close is a mystery that may never be fully solved, but the paranormal activity and sightings suggest that the past still lingers in the very walls of this infamous haunted site. As time passes, the legend of Mary King's Close continues to grow, becoming an integral part of Edinburgh's rich haunted history. Despite being closed off for centuries and buried beneath the Royal Exchange in the mid-18th century, the Close has never truly been forgotten. Its rediscovery in the 1980s sparked renewed interest in the area, and the tales of its ghostly inhabitants have been shared by locals and visitors alike. The Close has become a symbol of the darker side of Edinburgh, drawing those intrigued by the paranormal, history, and the tragedies that unfolded within its walls. While many people come to visit Mary King's Close out of curiosity, others are driven by a desire to understand the past, particularly the lives of the men, women, and children who once lived there. The area may have been forgotten by society for a time, but the stories of its residents live on through the tourists who walk its ghostly halls today. The Close is a reminder of the harsh conditions that people endured in the past, especially the devastating impact of disease and overcrowding in the old town of Edinburgh. Mary King's Close, as it stands today, is a preserved historical site. The underground alleyways have been open for guided tours, allowing people to experience the eerie atmosphere for themselves. The tours often highlight not only the paranormal activity, but also the rich history of the area. For many visitors, the Close serves as a unique time capsule, offering a glimpse into the everyday lives of the people who lived there and the hardships they faced. The stories of the hauntings continue to attract attention. The young girl Annie, the mysterious lady in black, and the sounds of footsteps that echo through the narrow streets are now woven into the fabric of the Close's identity. The history of Mary King's Close has become intertwined with these ghostly tales, ensuring that the location remains a place of intrigue and mystery. In a way, the hauntings have become a part of the area's charm, adding an extra layer of fascination for those eager to learn about the past while experiencing its eerie presence. The spirits that are said to wander the Close, whether in the form of apparitions, sounds, or sudden temperature drops, serve as a haunting reminder of the lives that were once lived there and the enduring presence of those who never truly left. The legacy of Mary King's Close is a blend of tragedy, history, and the supernatural. It stands as a testament to the resilience of the people who lived there, even in the face of unimaginable hardship, while also serving as a reminder that some places are never fully forgotten. The spirits of the Close remain a part of Edinburgh's living history, continuing to shape the story of the city. and as long as people continue to visit, the ghosts of Mary King's Close will endure, keeping their stories alive in the shadows of the past. The A75 is a long, winding road that cuts through Dumfries and Galloway in southwest Scotland. By day, it looks calm and ordinary, stretching past fields, forests, and small villages. But once the sun goes down, this road has a very different reputation. For more than 70 years, drivers have reported strange and frightening encounters here, making the A75 known as Scotland's most haunted road. These are not modern internet stories. Many of them were reported to police, newspapers, and researchers long before ghost hunting became popular. What makes the A75 stand out is how normal it feels before something goes wrong. There are no warning signs, no sudden changes in the landscape. Drivers often say the road feels quiet, almost too quiet, just before an encounter happens. Some describe a heavy feeling in the air, while others mention an odd sense of being watched even when no one else is around. These feelings are often followed by sudden movement in the headlights or figures appearing where no one should be. The road follows routes that have been used for centuries, long before cars ever existed. Parts of it sit on or near old travel paths that once connected towns, farms, and coastal communities. This means the land around the A75 has seen generations of travelers, traders, and soldiers pass through. Many paranormal researchers believe places like this can hold on to past events, especially when the same path is used again and again over time. What is especially unsettling is how wide the reports are spread out. Sightings have been described along different stretches of the road, not just one single bend or junction. Drivers with no connection to each other have shared similar stories, often using the same words to describe what they saw. These accounts come from locals, visitors, families, and professional drivers who are used to long nights on the road. In this series, we are not retelling myths or campfire tales. We are looking at real reports connected to the A75 and the patterns that link them together. Next, we will move into the first major wave of sightings that brought national attention to this road and changed how people in Scotland saw it forever. The A75 first gained serious attention in the early 1960s after one of the most famous ghost encounters ever reported on a British road. In the year 1962, two brothers were driving a delivery truck late at night along the A75 when their journey suddenly turned into something they would never forget. The road ahead was clear, the weather was calm, and there was nothing unusual about the drive until a large shape flew straight toward their windscreen. The shape looked like a huge bird, similar to a hen, and the driver instinctively swerved to avoid hitting it. There was no impact, no sound, and no sign of feathers or damage. Before the brothers could even recover from the shock, something even more disturbing happened. A figure of an elderly woman appeared directly in front of the truck, arms raised as if screaming. Just like the bird, she vanished before the vehicle could reach her. What followed was a series of strange sightings that seemed to come one after another without pause. The brothers reported seeing large animals rush toward the truck, including shapes that looked like oversized cats and farm animals. Each one appeared solid for a moment in the headlights, then faded away without leaving any trace behind. The road itself seemed unchanged, but the sense of fear inside the vehicle kept growing. The final moment of the encounter involved a vehicle that should not have been there. A furniture van appeared ahead of them, swerving across the road as if out of control. The truck shook violently, making the brothers believe a collision was unavoidable. Then just as suddenly as it appeared, the van was gone. The road returned to silence, with no signs of traffic or danger. After the incident, the brothers reported the experience, and their story quickly spread beyond the local area. What made it stand out was not just how strange it was, but how detailed and consistent their account remained over time. This single night marked the beginning of the A75 being openly discussed as a haunted road, and it opened the door for many more drivers to come forward with their own terrifying stories. As the years went on, the the stories from the A75 began to change. Drivers were no longer just reporting strange animals or phantom vehicles. Instead, people started seeing human figures standing directly in the road. These encounters were often far more disturbing because they felt personal and impossible to explain away. One of the most well-known reports happened in the year 1995 near the town of Annan. A couple was driving at night when a thin man suddenly appeared in front of their car. His arms were stretched outward, and his head seemed to be covered by a sack or hood. The driver swerved and slammed the brakes, fully believing they had hit him. When they stopped and searched the road, there was nothing there. No person, no fabric, and no sign anyone had ever been present. What made this case stand out was what happened next. The couple contacted authorities, and the area was carefully checked. There were no reports of missing people, no accidents, and no evidence that anyone had been struck. The experience left the witnesses shaken, certain they had seen a real person who somehow vanished into thin air. Just 2 years later, in the year 1997, another driver experienced something very similar along the same stretch of road. A man suddenly stepped out in front of the car with no warning. The driver stopped immediately and got out, expecting the worst. Once again, the road was completely empty. No sound, no movement, and no explanation. Over time, more drivers began reporting figures like these. Some described men standing at the roadside, watching cars pass without moving. Others said the figures walked slowly into traffic, only to fade away before impact. A few even described clothing that looked old-fashioned, as if the figures belonged to another era entirely. These sightings added a new layer of fear to the A75. Unlike shadows or shapes, these figures looked human, solid, and close enough to touch. For many drivers, the question was no longer whether the road was haunted, but why the same kinds of figures kept appearing in the same places, year after year, without ever leaving a trace. Not every haunting on the A75 involves modern-looking figures. Some of the most unsettling sightings seem to come from far deeper in Scotland's past. These encounters suggest the road cuts through layers of history, with moments from different centuries replaying without warning. One of the oldest reported sights is a phantom horse-drawn coach. Drivers have described seeing a full carriage pulled by horses racing across the road before vanishing instantly. There is no sound of hooves, no crash, and no sign the coach was ever there. This has led some investigators to believe the road follows parts of an older travel route, and what people are seeing may be echoes from long ago. Another chilling report involves ghostly soldiers. Several drivers have claimed to see figures dressed like Roman troops marching alongside the road. What makes this strange is that the figures are often only visible from the knees upward. This detail has appeared in multiple reports and has led to the theory that the original ground level was much lower when the road was first built. Female apparitions have also been reported in different areas along the A75. Near large country estates and wooded sections, drivers have described seeing a woman dressed in pale or white clothing, calmly crossing the road. In some cases, the figure disappears halfway across. In others, drivers say they pass straight through her, feeling no impact at all. There are also encounters that are harder to explain using history alone. One report describes a glowing figure appearing beside a moving car, filling the air with a strong smell of smoke before fading away. Another tells of a pair of tall, disembodied legs walking along the roadside with no body attached. These sightings are frightening not because they are violent, but because they feel so real. People see them clearly, react instantly, and then are left alone in the dark with no proof. By this point, the A75 had earned a reputation not just for ghosts, but for ghosts from many different times, all sharing the same stretch of road. After decades of sightings, one question still hangs over the A75. Why does this road keep producing so many ghost stories? And why do the reports stay so consistent over time? Paranormal researchers believe the answer may lie in the land itself, not just the spirits people claim to see. The road runs through an area shaped by centuries of conflict, travel, and loss. Long before modern vehicles existed, people walked, marched, and died along these routes. Some investigators believe the A75 is what folklore calls a thin place, where the line between the living world and the unseen world is weak. In these places, past events may replay without warning. Others point to how often drivers experience the same things: sudden figures in the road, near misses, and complete disappearances are reported by people who have never heard the stories before. These are not shared memories or copied tales. Many witnesses contact police or pull over in shock, fully believing they have just hit someone. Local workers who spent years near the road also noticed a pattern. One roadside vendor famously spoke about how shaken drivers would regularly stop and describe ghostly encounters without being prompted. The details often matched stories told years earlier, even when the people involved had no connection to each other. Skeptics argue that darkness, long drives, and tired eyes can explain some of these events, but that explanation does not cover the number of reports, the clarity of the sightings, or how long these stories have continued. From the early 1960s to today, the same stretch of road keeps producing new encounters. The A75 remains open, busy, and ordinary in daylight. But after dark, it becomes something else entirely. A place where drivers question what they see, where history feels close, and where the road itself seems to remember. Whether these are spirits, echoes of the past, or something science cannot yet explain, the hauntings of the A75 show no sign of ending. For anyone driving it at night, the fear is simple and lasting. If something steps into your headlights, you may never know if it was real or if it was watching you long before you arrived. Glencoe is one of the most haunting places in all of Scotland. It lies tucked among moor-covered mountains and deep valleys in the Highlands, stretching for 8 miles across the northern border of Argyll. On quiet days, the wind moves softly through the glen, but there's a sadness in the air. Locals call it the Glen of Weeping. That name didn't come from nowhere. It came from a real tragedy that left behind pain, betrayal, and many believe restless spirits. Glencoe's beauty hides a dark past. On the 13th of February, 1692, one of the most infamous massacres in Scottish history took place right there. Visitors say the ghosts of the dead still return to the glen each year on the anniversary of their deaths. It's believed they walk the snow-covered hills at night, searching for peace that never came. This haunting is tied to an old Highland law called murder under trust. In most places, murder is the worst crime you can commit. But in the Highlands, there was something even worse. When someone was welcomed into your home, under your roof, they were considered a guest, and guests were supposed to be protected, not harmed. If someone broke that code, the betrayal was considered unforgivable. What happened at Glencoe was exactly that: murder under trust. The massacre was not just an attack. It was a cold, planned execution, carried out by soldiers who had eaten at the same tables as the people they killed. These were soldiers who had shared bread and drink with the MacDonald clan. They lived among them, warmed themselves by their fires, and then, on a snowy winter morning, turned against them. This is where the true haunting begins. The MacDonalds of Glencoe, or the MacKeons, had lived in the glen since the early 1300s. They were a proud branch of the larger clan Donald, one of the most powerful clans in Scottish history. Their leader at the time was Alistair MacDonald, known as MacKeon. He was a large man with a white beard and the look of a warrior chieftain. People feared him, but his own clan respected him deeply. He had 2 sons, John and Alistair, and their family had long survived on tough Highland land, often at odds with the law. Like many Highland clans, the MacDonalds sometimes stole cattle from their neighbors. This was part of a long Highland tradition, but it often got them into trouble. Their biggest rivals were the Campbells, a clan with strong political connections and a hunger for land. Over time, the MacDonalds lost most of their power, while the Campbells grew stronger by siding with whoever held the throne. Even though both clans were Highlanders, they couldn't have been more different. The tension between them simmered for years, but what happened at Glencoe in 1692 wasn't just another clan feud. It was bigger than that. It was planned at the highest levels of government, and it used old clan grudges to carry out a mission that would haunt Glencoe forever. The betrayal that was coming would not only change the history of the Highlands, it would leave behind stories of restless spirits and unquiet souls for centuries to come. Glencoe's reputation for being haunted is not only tied to its tragic past, it is also built on generations of chilling encounters. Among the most frequently reported supernatural sightings is that of ghostly figures seen wandering the old military road that winds through the glen. Hikers have reported seeing solitary men dressed in faded tartan, often appearing during early morning fog or twilight. These figures are said to vanish the moment anyone tries to approach them. Another well-known location for paranormal activity is the ruins of Inverriggen House, which once stood near the River Coe. In the late 19th century, visitors to the area began describing strange lights flickering through the ruins at night, even though the building had long been abandoned. Some witnesses claimed to hear disembodied whispers in Gaelic and the sound of footsteps moving through the grass, even when they were alone. One of the more unsettling tales comes from a traveler in the early 20th century who stayed in a nearby bothy. He awoke in the middle of the night to the sound of heavy breathing and footsteps circling the stone structure. When he looked outside, there was no one in sight, but he found large, wet footprints just beyond the door, far too large to have been made by any normal man, and with no trail leading to or from them. Locals have also reported a strange phenomenon known as the crying winds. On especially still nights, some say they can hear what sounds like moaning or weeping, carried by the wind through the glen. Scientists have never been able to fully explain this effect. While some believe it could be caused by the unique shape of the valley amplifying natural sounds, others are convinced it is something more. Perhaps echoes of sorrow still lingering in the land. One of the most persistent and eerie sightings involves ghostly processions seen along the riverbank near the site of former settlements. People have described what looks like groups of shadowy figures walking silently together, some appearing to carry torches or wear cloaks. These apparitions are often seen just before sunrise and are said to disappear the moment the sun begins to rise above the hills. Each of these stories has added to Glencoe's reputation as one of the most haunted places in Scotland. While skeptics try to explain the sightings away, those who have experienced them firsthand are left with a deep sense of unease and a feeling that something or someone still remains among the hills. Glencoe is not only known for its natural beauty, but also for a number of specific locations that have gained reputations for being haunted. One such place is the Clachig Inn, located at the base of the glen. Though now a popular stop for hikers and travelers, staff and visitors have reported strange occurrences over the years. Doors have been known to slam shut on their own. Lights flicker with no electrical issues, and footsteps are sometimes heard in empty hallways late at night. Some guests have even claimed to feel an invisible presence watching them while they sleep. A lesser-known, yet equally mysterious site is the old burial ground near the village of Glencoe. Locals have long avoided the area after dark. Visitors have described hearing soft singing that seems to come from the direction of the graves, even when no one else is around. Others have mentioned a sudden and unexplained drop in temperature when passing through the area, with cold spots so intense that breath becomes visible, even in summer. Further into the glen lies the ruins of Auchnacun House, once a modest Highland home that fell into disrepair by the late 19th century. According to accounts from early 20th century hikers, the crumbling structure emitted strange sounds at night. Low, rhythmic thuds like heavy furniture being dragged across a wooden floor. No furniture remained inside the ruins at that time. These sounds were often followed by sudden, sharp banging noises that seemed to come from within the stone walls themselves. Another location that has drawn attention from paranormal investigators is the forest near Loch Auchtriochtan. This small loch is bordered by dense woods, where several hikers have claimed to experience a disturbing phenomenon, the sudden feeling of being followed. Some have described hearing branches crack under invisible footsteps, and others reported seeing quick flashes of movement between the trees, always just out of view. Despite searching the area, no animals or people were ever found. A particularly strange report came in the year 2003, when a group of photographers camping near the loch captured a series of images showing an unexplained white figure standing near the water's edge. None of them had seen anything with their own eyes at the time. The figure did not appear in any photos taken just seconds before or after. These haunted locations, each with their own unique stories, have only deepened Glencoe's reputation for the paranormal. The landscape itself seems to hold memories, some peaceful and others far more unsettling. Today, Glencoe remains one of Scotland's most visited locations, but its reputation for eerie and unexplained events has not faded with time. In fact, reports of paranormal experiences have continued well into the 21st century. Modern-day hikers, campers, and even passing motorists have filed strange and consistent accounts, many of which share recurring details, even though the witnesses were never in contact with one another. In the year 2009, a couple traveling through the Glencoe by car late at night reported seeing a figure standing in the center of the narrow A82 road. They described it as a man in traditional Highland dress, who remained motionless as their headlights approached. Fearing they might hit him, they slowed to a stop. But when they looked up again, the figure had vanished. The road was empty, and no one was ever found. That same stretch of road has seen other incidents where drivers claim to see people on the roadside who disappear upon closer approach. There are also accounts of strange sounds echoing across the glen that cannot be traced to any source. In the year 2015, a team of wildlife researchers working in the area documented a repeating sound pattern they described as a mix between distant shouting and wailing. The sound occurred over several nights, always at the same hour, just before dawn. Despite using sound recording equipment and thermal imaging, they never identified an animal or environmental cause. Several guides and outdoor workers in Glencoe have shared stories of hearing footsteps trailing them across open ground, especially in areas where the terrain would make it difficult for someone to follow without being seen. In one case, a local ranger recounted how he turned repeatedly, expecting to find a lost hiker behind him, only to discover he was completely alone. The sound of crunching gravel would start and stop, always matching his own pace. The experience continued for nearly half an hour, before abruptly ending with a sharp whistle that seemed to come from above. One final chilling incident took place in the year 2017, when a small group of film students stayed in Glencoe to shoot footage for a documentary. While camping near the mountainside, one student claimed to have seen a figure sitting at the edge of their campfire light, staring at them silently before vanishing into the darkness. They captured audio that night of soft, rhythmic tapping sounds that none of them had noticed in real time. Multiple experts who reviewed the footage were unable to explain the noise. These modern-day reports, along with the centuries of ghost stories tied to the land, suggest that Glencoe holds more than just scenic value. Whether visitors come seeking natural beauty or unknowingly walk into something stranger, the Glen continues to leave a lasting impression, one that lingers long after they leave. The Cathedral House Hotel, nestled in the heart of Glasgow, is a place where history and mystery intertwine. Built in 1877, it stands as a striking reminder of the city's rich past. Originally, it wasn't a hotel at all. It was built as a hostel for newly released prisoners from the nearby Duke Street prison. The prison itself was infamous for its poor conditions and harsh punishments. The hostel offered a temporary refuge to those who had been released from the prison's walls, a short stay before they could re-enter society. But this connection to the grim Duke Street prison would soon become part of the hotel's dark legacy. Over the years, the Cathedral House Hotel has gained a reputation for being one of Scotland's most haunted places. People from all over the world have visited, hoping to experience the eerie tales that surround the building. The hotel's connection to the Duke Street prison, known for its harsh history, plays a big role in the ghost stories that have emerged over time. The prison was notorious for housing some of the worst criminals in Scotland, and its legacy lingers, even after its demolition in 1958. Though the Duke Street prison was torn down, part of its old wall still stands today, serving as a chilling reminder of the place's dark past. Some believe the souls of the people who suffered there never truly left. Many think the ghosts of former prisoners, some of whom were executed in the prison, have found their way to the Cathedral House Hotel. The feeling of the past never truly leaving the place is strong, and visitors often report sensing an unsettling energy in the air. The hotel itself has seen countless visitors over the years, many of whom have had strange experiences. Some guests have reported hearing footsteps in the halls, even when no one is there. Others have felt a sudden chill, a coldness that doesn't seem to fit the weather or the surroundings. These unusual occurrences have made the hotel a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts. Yet, the most compelling stories involve the spirits of former residents, souls that seem to be trapped, wandering the halls of the hotel in search of peace. The link between the hotel and Duke Street prison is only the beginning of its haunted history. Over time, tragic deaths within the hotel itself have added to the stories of restless spirits. And as we dive deeper into the history of the Cathedral House Hotel, we will uncover more about the mysterious occurrences that continue to captivate those who visit. The history of the Cathedral House Hotel is deeply intertwined with Glasgow's darker past, which many believe contributes to the strange happenings reported there. Built in 1877, the building was originally intended to house recently released prisoners from the nearby Duke Street prison. This connection to the prison, known for its poor living conditions and grim history, has led many to speculate that the spirits of former inmates may still linger within the hotel's walls. Duke Street prison was infamous for its executions, with many lives lost within its walls. In 1923, Susan Newell, the last woman to be executed in Scotland, met her end at this prison. She had been convicted of strangling a 13-year-old boy and was hung in front of a crowd. Stories suggest that Susan's spirit is among the many that may have found their way to this Cathedral House Hotel after the prison was demolished in 1958. Some claim that her ghost, described as a short woman dressed in white, can still be seen wandering the halls of the hotel, disappearing into thin air as quickly as she appears. While the Duke Street prison may be gone, one of its walls still stands as a haunting reminder of the dark events that took place there. This wall is said to be one of the most active paranormal spots around the Cathedral House Hotel, with sightings of a woman in white commonly reported in this area. The sighting of her figure, with her sad, aimless wandering, is just one of the many unsettling occurrences that have taken place here. The hotel, having seen numerous changes in its lifetime, became a place of lodging in the early 1990s. But despite these renovations, the spirits tied to the property remain, with many believing that the souls of those who died under tragic and violent circumstances at Duke Street prison continue to haunt the area. These restless spirits may have been disturbed during the demolition of the prison, which leads some to believe that their souls have found new homes at the Cathedral House Hotel, contributing to the ghostly energy felt by visitors and staff alike. Many believe that the hotel's long history of suffering and death has left an imprint on the space. With the original purpose of housing ex-prisoners, it's no surprise that some might feel trapped within the hotel's walls, unable to move on from their past. This connection to the prison has only fueled the theories about why the hotel has become such a hotspot for paranormal activity. The stories surrounding the haunted Cathedral House Hotel are not just based on speculation. They're supported by the testimonies of visitors and paranormal investigators alike. As word of the hotel's eerie reputation spread, it became the focus of numerous investigations. In 2005, a team from Ghost Finders Scotland conducted a detailed investigation, capturing unusual electromagnetic field readings and visual abnormalities in their photographs. These findings further cemented the hotel's place on the list of Scotland's most haunted locations. As the years have gone by, the hotel has become an integral part of Glasgow's paranormal landscape. The lingering spirits of the past, combined with the building's storied history, make it a place where the lines between the living and the dead seem to blur. Visitors who come in search of the supernatural often leave with more than they bargained for, whether it's a chilling encounter with a ghostly figure or an inexplicable noise that leaves them with goosebumps. Part of what makes the Cathedral House Hotel so compelling to those interested in the supernatural is its deep connection to the past. The building's transformation from a church to a halfway house, and eventually into a hotel, has created a layered history, rich in both the sacred and the sinister. This, combined with its proximity to the necropolis, one of Glasgow's oldest and most haunted cemeteries, contributes to the eerie atmosphere that surrounds the hotel. With all of this paranormal history and unexplained activity, it's no wonder that the Cathedral House Hotel continues to draw attention from both paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers alike. In the next part, we'll explore the specific hauntings and ghostly figures that have made the Cathedral House Hotel famous for its ghostly activity. Stay tuned to learn more about the apparitions and eerie experiences that haunt this historic location. The Cathedral House Hotel's haunted reputation has been further solidified by the many ghostly sightings and chilling encounters reported by guests and staff. Some of the most unsettling experiences have occurred in the hotel's rooms, corridors, and even the bar area. The spirits that are said to haunt the hotel come from a variety of sources, but many share one common theme. They seem to be stuck in time, wandering aimlessly through the hotel's walls. One of the most frequently reported spirits is that of a man, often described as wearing a dark suit, who is said to appear in the hallways and stairwells. His presence has been noted by several staff members who describe a sudden drop in temperature and an overwhelming feeling of dread when he is near. Some guests claim to have seen him standing in the shadows at the end of the hall, only to vanish as soon as they approach. The figure is often associated with the hotel's rich history, but there is little known about his identity. Some believe he may be a former guest who met an untimely death at the hotel, while others suggest he could be a former resident of the area. Another commonly seen apparition is that of a woman dressed in Victorian-era clothing who has been spotted near the hotel's staircase. Witnesses describe her as having a sorrowful expression, often appearing as if she is waiting for someone or something. Guests who have seen the woman say that she moves silently, her footsteps barely audible as she ascends or descends the stairs. Some claim she has been seen standing at the top of the stairs, gazing down at them with a look of sadness or longing. It's unclear who this woman might be, but her haunting presence seems to be linked to the hotel's past, perhaps tied to the sorrowful stories that echo throughout the building. Perhaps the most unsettling of all the hauntings at the Cathedral House Hotel are the unexplained sounds that often fill the air. Guests have reported hearing the sound of footsteps echoing through the halls late at night, even when no one else is around. These footsteps are often accompanied by a sudden, unexplained chill, leaving those who hear them with a sense of unease. The sounds of doors creaking open and closed, and the distinct sound of chains rattling, are also frequent occurrences. These noises have been especially prominent in the hotel's older rooms, which seemed to be the most active areas for paranormal activity. A particularly chilling account comes from a guest who stayed in room 3 in 2012. This guest reported being awoken in the middle of the night by the sound of whispers coming from the corner of the room. When they tried to locate the source of the noise, they found nothing. No person or object that could explain the sound. However, the temperature in the room dropped dramatically, and the guest described feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness. This haunting experience was not unique, as other visitors to room 3 have similarly reported hearing voices and feeling cold spots. The connection to room 3 is often cited by paranormal investigators as one of the strongest indicators of lingering spirits within the hotel. In addition to these individual sightings, many guests have shared accounts of a general sense of unease or being watched during their stay. The feeling of being observed, despite no one being around, is a common theme in the hotel's history of paranormal activity. Staff members have also reported strange occurrences, such as lights flickering or appliances malfunctioning with no clear explanation. One staff member recounted an instance in 2008 when the television in the hotel's common room turned on by itself, showing static before quickly switching to a local news broadcast about a fire that had occurred in the area decades earlier. This strange coincidence left everyone in the room feeling uncomfortable, as if the hotel was trying to communicate something from the past. The hotel's bar area has also earned a reputation for strange occurrences. It is here that guests have reported seeing fleeting images of figures sitting at empty tables, only to vanish moments later. In some instances, guests have felt a cold breeze on their necks or experienced objects moving on their own, such as glasses shifting slightly on the bar. The feeling of being watched is particularly strong in this area, and some believe it could be tied to the spirits of people who once frequented the hotel in its earlier days, possibly even patrons who met tragic ends within the hotel's walls. The ghostly activity at the Cathedral House Hotel has attracted the attention of various paranormal investigation teams over the years. In 2014, a team from the Glasgow Paranormal Society conducted an investigation, capturing several eerie images of shadowy figures on their cameras. One photograph taken in the hotel's lobby showed a faint silhouette standing near the front desk, despite no one being visible at the time. Other investigations have yielded similar results, with guests and investigators alike witnessing unexplained phenomena that further cement the hotel's place as one of Glasgow's most haunted locations. The spirits that haunt the Cathedral House Hotel seem to come from a mix of sources, including those connected to the area's dark history, tragic events, and even former guests who may have never left. Whether it is the man in the dark suit, the Victorian woman, or the unexplained sounds that fill the hotel, the experiences of those who encounter these spirits are both chilling and mysterious. The stories of these ghostly encounters are just a few of the many that have been shared by those who have experienced something they can't explain. As we move forward, the next part will focus on the investigations that have taken place at the Cathedral House Hotel and the findings that have made it one of the most well-documented haunted locations in Scotland. Stay tuned to learn more about the evidence captured and the experts who have sought to unravel the mysteries that haunt this historic hotel. The Cathedral House Hotel's long history of ghostly encounters has attracted numerous paranormal investigation teams over the years. These investigations have led to some fascinating discoveries, with both experienced investigators and guests capturing evidence that seems to support the hotel's haunted reputation. Over the years, the hotel has become a hotspot for those interested in the supernatural, with its eerie atmosphere and frequent reports of strange occurrences. One of the most notable investigations took place in 2014, when a team from the Paranormal Research Group of Scotland, PRGS, visited the hotel. This investigation was well documented, and the team used an array of equipment, including EVP, electronic voice phenomenon recorders, infrared cameras, and motion sensors, to capture any signs of paranormal activity. During their investigation, the team reported several unusual events that could not be explained by natural causes. The PRGS team's EVP recordings were particularly intriguing. In one instance, they captured a distinct voice on an EVP recorder while investigating the hotel's main hallway. The voice, which was not heard during the investigation itself, seemed to be whispering words that sounded like "help me," followed by a faint, muffled sound. This chilling audio was not interpreted as a random noise or interference, but as a genuine communication from a spirit, and it sent a shiver down the spines of those who listened to it. While EVP recordings can sometimes be misinterpreted, the clarity and context of this particular recording led many to believe that it was legitimate. Another key piece of evidence captured during the 2014 investigation was a series of strange photographs. The team took several pictures in the hotel's bar area where multiple reports of ghostly figures had been made in the past. In one of the photos, a shadowy figure appeared to be seated at an otherwise empty table. The figure was not visible to the human eye at the time, but it was clearly visible in the photograph, sitting hunched over, with what appeared to be a glass in front of it. Despite several attempts to explain the image as a trick of the light or a reflection, the team was unable to offer a logical explanation for the presence of this shadowy figure in the photo. Additionally, the investigation team set up motion sensors in key areas of the hotel, particularly in the corridors and rooms that had been the site of previous ghost sightings. On several occasions, the motion detectors triggered even though no one was present in the area at the time. These sensors were designed to detect movement, and their sudden activation, without any logical explanation, only added to the growing body of evidence suggesting that the hotel's paranormal activity was far from ordinary. In 2016, a second investigation by a different team, the Edinburgh Paranormal Group, focused specifically on the hotel's most active rooms. The team used a combination of thermal imaging cameras and motion detectors to scan for temperature fluctuations and unexplained movements. One of the most intriguing results came from the hotel's lobby, where the thermal imaging cameras recorded a sudden drop in temperature of several degrees in the middle of the day. The temperature change, which occurred without any apparent reason, was followed by the sound of footsteps that were captured on audio equipment. Despite the lack of any physical presence, the drop in temperature and the footsteps left the investigators puzzled. Additionally, the Edinburgh team conducted several experiments with the hotel's bar area, where they had been hearing reports of unexplained figures and cold spots. During their investigation, they found that certain parts of the bar seemed to be consistently colder than others, even when the heating system was working properly. These cold spots were often accompanied by the smell of something metallic or musty, which led some investigators to suggest that the spirits might be tied to the hotel's history of heavy industry and its location near old warehouses. However, no one could conclusively identify the source of the temperature drops or the strange smells. In 2018, a documentary film crew from the UK's Ghost Adventures show visited the Cathedral House Hotel to capture footage of the paranormal activity. The crew, known for investigating haunted locations around the world, set up their equipment in various areas of the hotel, hoping to capture something extraordinary. While filming, the crew experienced several unusual occurrences, including objects moving slightly on their own and the sound of whispering voices echoing through the hotel. At one point during their investigation, the crew reported seeing a figure walking in and out of one of the rooms on the upper floors. Although no one was found when the room was opened, the crew's cameras captured something strange on film, a dark shadow crossing the doorway. This footage was deemed one of the most compelling pieces of evidence, though it remains open to interpretation. One of the most intriguing aspects of these investigations is that the paranormal activity at the Cathedral House Hotel seems to follow a pattern. The most active periods for ghostly encounters occur during the late evening hours, particularly between 10 p.m. and midnight. The spirits are most often seen in areas with a history of trauma, such as the hotel's stairwells and upper floors, where guests have reported strange sensations and feelings of being watched. Interestingly, these investigations have also found that the hotel's activity seems to be cyclical, with certain months of the year experiencing more paranormal activity than others. For instance, the hotel has been the site of an increase in unexplained events during the colder months, suggesting that temperature might play a role in the manifestation of these ghostly presences. The investigations of the Cathedral House Hotel have brought the hotel even more attention from those interested in the paranormal. Guests who stay at the hotel often bring their own cameras and recording devices, hoping to capture something supernatural during their visit. Some have reported feeling a deep connection to the spirits that haunt the hotel, while others simply come to experience the eerie atmosphere of a place with such a rich and unsettling history. Though much of the evidence captured during these investigations remains open to interpretation, there is no denying that the Cathedral House Hotel is a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems thinner than in most other places. Whether it's the captured EVPs, the chilling photographs, or the cold spots that can't be explained, the hotel remains one of the most actively haunted locations in Glasgow, and its legacy as a haunted site continues to grow. As we conclude this exploration of the Cathedral House Hotel's haunted history and investigations, the stories and evidence collected by both guests and paranormal experts continue to keep the hotel a subject of fascination. If you ever find yourself near this historic location, you may just experience for yourself the chilling atmosphere and paranormal phenomena that have made the Cathedral House Hotel infamous. Greyfriars Kirkyard sits in the heart of Edinburgh, surrounded by the city's streets, yet it feels like a world apart. Founded in 1562, it is one of Scotland's oldest graveyards, with rows of ancient, moss-covered tombstones leaning under the weight of centuries. At first glance, it seems peaceful, even beautiful, with old trees casting long shadows across the weathered stones. But the calm is deceptive. Beneath the ground lies a history of suffering and injustice that is left in energy visitors say is impossible to ignore. In the 1700s, a part of the graveyard became known as the Covenanters' Prison. This was not a prison in the walls of stone sense. It was an open-air holding area where hundreds of Scottish Presbyterians, known as Covenanters, were forced to wait after opposing the king's attempts to control their church. Conditions were brutal. They were crowded together with no shelter from the wind, rain, or snow, and given almost no food. Many died in the cold before they ever faced trial, and their bodies were buried in mass graves within the kirkyard. This history of cruelty seems to have left its mark on the land itself. Locals and visitors describe an uneasy feeling as soon as they enter the Covenanters' prison area. Some report a sudden chill, a sense of being watched, or the faint echo of voices that cannot belong to the living. Even during the day, many say it feels oppressive, as if the air itself is heavy with memory. Beyond the Covenanters, Greyfriars Kirkyard contains the tomb of Sir George Mackenzie, a man whose harsh prosecution of the Covenanters earned him the nickname Bloody George. Though he died in 1691, his grave sits just a few yards from the prison, and strange activity seems to cluster around his resting place. Visitors often speak of shadows moving in the corners of their vision, and the sensation of being pushed or jostled for no reason. Even without entering the prison or approaching Mackenzie's tomb, people have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature, hearing footsteps on empty paths, or sensing someone standing behind them. Paranormal investigators say these are not uncommon experiences in Greyfriars, and they are often stronger in areas connected to the suffering of the Covenanters or the presence of Mackenzie. Greyfriars Kirkyard is not just a graveyard. It is a place where history and fear merge, where centuries of pain have created a dark energy that seems to cling to the stones and soil. Visitors often say that even the quietest moments feel alive with unseen eyes, and that the ground itself seems to whisper warnings. This is the beginning of a story of terror that stretches across centuries, combining historical tragedy with modern paranormal accounts that continue to puzzle and frighten those who dare to explore. At the heart of Greyfriars Kirkyard stands the Black Mausoleum, the final resting place of Sir George Mackenzie, who died in 1691. Mackenzie was a powerful lawyer and government official, feared for his harsh prosecution of the Covenanters. He earned the nickname Bloody George because of the cruelty he showed to those who resisted the king's religious policies. For centuries, his tomb remained mostly undisturbed, and the eerie tension in that part of the graveyard was limited to whispers among locals. Everything changed in the late 1990s. Reports began of a dark, aggressive spirit concentrated around the Black Mausoleum and the Covenanters' prison. Witnesses described a force that could push, pull, or grab them, often leaving bruises or scratches on skin. Some felt their hair yanked or sensed heavy pressure on their shoulders, even when no one else was near. Cameras and phones occasionally failed in the area, as if the entity interfered with electronics, and small objects were reported moving on their own. Paranormal investigators who visited documented dozens of encounters. People often described hearing low growls, distant shouting, or the sound of metal scraping against stone. On some nights, witnesses saw shadowy figures darting between tombstones or glimpsed a cloaked presence near the mausoleum, always disappearing when approached. Some even reported seeing glowing eyes reflecting in the dark corners of the graveyard. Local guides and researchers call this the Mackenzie poltergeist. It seems to act selectively, focusing its energy around the places connected to Mackenzie's life and his victims. While skeptics suggest coincidence or psychological suggestion, the number of consistent, independent accounts makes Greyfriars unique. Visitors often leave feeling shaken, claiming the atmosphere is oppressive and aware of their presence. The poltergeist is said to follow people beyond the kirkyard. Some who spent time near the Black Mausoleum reported unusual phenomena at home, such as objects falling, doors slamming, or cold spots appearing suddenly. Others describe vivid nightmares of being chased or trapped in stone corridors. This follow home effect contributes to the graveyard's reputation as one of the most active paranormal sites in the world. Greyfriars Kirkyard is not only a place of history, but a laboratory for the unexplained. The Black Mausoleum, with its dark stone and iron gate, has become a symbol of fear. Even those who visit during daylight hours often report a sense of unease, as if the spirit watches from the shadows, waiting for nightfall to demonstrate its power. The legend of Bloody George Mackenzie reminds visitors that the stories of the past are not always confined to history books. When cruelty and injustice leave a mark on a place, some believe it imprints itself on the land itself. Greyfriars Kirkyard is the perfect example of this, where centuries-old suffering seems to have awakened something far beyond human understanding. By the late 1990s, Greyfriars Kirkyard had become more than just a historic site. It had become a hotspot for documented paranormal activity. Around 1998, reports began pouring in of aggressive interactions from the Mackenzie poltergeist, concentrated near the Black Mausoleum and the Covenanters' prison. Visitors described feeling sudden shoves, unseen hands yanking their hair, and heavy pressure on their shoulders, even when no one else was present. Many reported leaving with long, red scratches appearing on their skin, sometimes under clothing, as well as unexplained bruises and welts. Paranormal investigators cataloged hundreds of encounters by the early 2000s. In many cases, witnesses reported being knocked off their feet or having objects thrown without any visible cause. Cameras and recording equipment frequently malfunctioned, and some investigators even claimed that flashlights would fail or flicker when pointed toward the mausoleum. Some visitors saw shadowy shapes flit among the tombstones, or glowing orbs hovering in midair, disappearing when approached. These experiences were not isolated. Multiple people visiting at the same time often reported similar phenomena independently. The attacks were sometimes accompanied by strange sounds. Witnesses reported low growls, thuds, whispers, and the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against stone. Others described hearing chains rattling or doors creaking in areas that were clearly empty. The consistency of these reports gave the impression of a focused, intelligent force, not random environmental anomalies. The poltergeist seemed to favor areas associated with Mackenzie's authority and cruelty, reinforcing the connection between his life and the spirit's ongoing activity. Authorities eventually limited access to the most active parts of the Kirkyard. The gates to the Covenanters' prison were locked, and today they can only be visited through an organized tour that documents the ongoing paranormal activity. Even with controlled access, people report feeling watched from the shadows, hearing unexplained noises, and sensing sudden cold drafts in places that should be sheltered from the wind. Some researchers noted a phenomenon they call follow-home activity, where the spirit appears to linger near visitors after they leave. People have reported poltergeist-like events in their own homes, including objects moving on their own, doors slamming, and sudden drops in temperature. Others spoke of nightmares that mirrored the experiences in the Kirkyard, adding a psychological layer to the terror. Greyfriars Kirkyard had transformed into one of the most active paranormal locations in Scotland. The combination of historical cruelty, mass suffering, and Mackenzie's proximity to his victims seemed to have created a focal point for supernatural activity. Those who venture there now are often advised to remain cautious, as the experiences documented over the past 2 decades suggest a spirit that is aware, reactive, and sometimes aggressive. Despite the danger, the site attracts both thrill seekers and serious paranormal investigators. For some, the risk of encountering the Mackenzie poltergeist is outweighed by the opportunity to witness one of the most compelling and violent ghost stories in the world. The graveyard continues to serve as a reminder that the past is never truly buried, and some spirits refuse to rest. While Greyfriars Kirkyard is best known for its violent poltergeist activity, it also holds stories that are both heartwarming and historically intriguing. One of the most famous involves a little Skye Terrier named Bobby. In 1858, Bobby's owner, a city night watchman, passed away and was buried in the Kirkyard. The dog refused to leave the grave, remaining by his master's side through rain, snow, and the harsh Scottish winters. For 14 years, until his death in 1872, Bobby stayed vigil, earning the admiration of locals and visitors alike. Bobby became a symbol of loyalty and love, and today a statue of him stands just outside the Kirkyard entrance. Tourists often rub the nose for good luck, unaware that the location of the statue intersects with areas historically associated with body snatching and grave protection. In the 19th century, Greyfriars was a hotspot for resurrectionists who exhumed bodies to supply Edinburgh's medical schools. Families used heavy iron cages called mort safes to protect graves, some of which remain visible today, giving the Kirkyard an eerie, cage-like appearance in sections. Beyond Bobby and the poltergeist, the Kirkyard has inspired literary connections. Several headstones provided names that J.K. Rowling would later adapt into characters for the Harry Potter series. Graves marked with the names of Thomas Riddell and William McGonagall became the basis for Lord Voldemort and Professor McGonagall. Visitors often remark that the atmosphere feels charged with an almost storybook tension, as if the land itself holds secrets from centuries of both tragic and inspiring events. Even with later stories like Bobby's, the Kirkyard's dark past is never far away. The combination of violent history, unsolved deaths, and the era of body snatchers created layers of unease that persist in the present day. People visiting report sudden chills, inexplicable sounds, or a sensation of being watched, even in areas far from the Black Mausoleum or Covenanters' prison. Paranormal investigators often note that the energy in these quieter areas is subtler but still tangible, a reminder that Greyfriars Kirkyard's haunting is not limited to one single story or spirit. This blending of terror, tragedy, and loyalty makes Greyfriars a uniquely complex location. Visitors can experience both the chilling aggression of the poltergeist and the heartwarming vigilance of Bobby, creating a juxtaposition that heightens the overall sense of history and mystery. Even simple walks through the moss-covered paths reveal centuries of layered human emotion, from devotion to cruelty, all preserved in the stone and soil of Edinburgh's most famous graveyard. Greyfriars Kirkyard is more than just a historic cemetery. It is a place where the past feels alive, and the spirits of history seem to linger in every shadowed corner. Today, the gates to the Covenanters' prison remain locked, with access granted only through guided tours. These tours document ongoing paranormal activity, and visitors continue to report scratches, bruises, and sudden feelings of intense dread when approaching the Black Mausoleum. Investigators note that even with modern protections, the poltergeist's energy appears to extend beyond its original boundaries, sometimes following visitors home in subtle ways. The Black Mausoleum itself remains a focal point for paranormal interest. Researchers describe a heavy, oppressive atmosphere near the tomb, often accompanied by unexplained cold spots and the sense of unseen eyes watching. Photographs taken in its vicinity frequently show strange orbs or shadowy figures, and electronic equipment sometimes malfunctions without explanation. This has led many to conclude that Greyfriars is not just haunted. It is a rare location where the energy of the past can interact tangibly with the living. Beyond the immediate dangers, Greyfriars' broader history continues to attract attention. The Kirkyard is the final resting place for generations of Edinburgh residents, from soldiers and politicians to artists and writers, each grave adding a layer to the graveyard's story. Even seemingly ordinary sections of the cemetery have reports of strange sensations, fleeting glimpses of figures in period clothing, and sudden drops in temperature that leave visitors unsettled. These experiences suggest that the haunting at Greyfriars is woven into the very fabric of the cemetery, not confined to the most notorious locations. The blend of history, legend, and paranormal phenomena has made Greyfriars Kirkyard one of the most famous haunted sites in the world. Its combination of violent historical events, the malevolent presence of the Mackenzie poltergeist, and tales of loyal companions like Greyfriars Bobby create a unique atmosphere where fear and fascination coexist. Paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and tourists alike are drawn to the Kirkyard, each seeking to experience a fragment of its intense, enigmatic energy. Ultimately, Greyfriars Kirkyard stands as a testament to the lasting power of human emotion and history. Every corner of the cemetery carries the weight of centuries of suffering, devotion, and mystery. Whether one experiences physical phenomena, glimpses ghostly figures, or simply senses the charged atmosphere, the legacy of Greyfriars is undeniable. Its stories continue to inspire fear, curiosity, and respect, ensuring that this historic site remains a central figure in Scotland's paranormal landscape. In the end, Greyfriars Kirkyard challenges anyone who visits to confront the line between history and legend. It asks you to consider whether the events of the past leave more than just memories behind. And for those brave enough to step inside its gates, it offers a haunting, unforgettable experience, one that lingers long after you leave, as if the spirits themselves are watching, waiting, and remembering.